Hello, friends. I am here today with my good friend Candace, and she and I are going to dive into the topic of good health. Now, I just want to stop for a second and just say, when we talk about health and wellness, sometimes there are people who feel two different things. Some are like, "Yay, I can't wait to talk about this. I love it. This is my sweet spot." And others is like, "I don't even want to go there." And so I just want to recognize that we have different feelings about this topic. And so what I would like to say is, just like we are all on a faith journey and our faith is at different places, we are all on a health journey and we are at different places. So there is like no shame, no condemnation. Like, this is meant to be life-giving and hope-filled and inspirational, and there is zero judgment. So I just had to start off by saying that.
Yeah, we just want you to know that you're welcome here. For many of us, we've struggled for years with, I've struggled for years with my nutrition and my health and fitness and all of that. And we just want you to know that we've been there, and we're here to guide you and encourage you.
Yeah. So we're going to start off by talking about your health journey. So why don't you begin the story?
Yeah. Well, when you first asked me to speak on this, I thought, wow, if she only knew me when I was a child or a teenager, young mom, or even 10 years ago, you would have never asked me to share on this. But for me, I've always struggled with a sugar addiction and junk food addiction. My parents, I like to blame them for naming me Candace, which most people will shorten for Candy. I don't really like that name for myself. But my grandma always called me Candy Kid. My college roommates called me Candy Bar. And so honestly, even in middle school, I would sell candy to the kids that their parents would not buy them candy at a markup price. Yeah, it's. I have no idea how I got into that, but yes, I was making some pretty decent money selling candy to kids, and now the tides have turned. But that carried on into my adulthood. I often, every day I always had a little bit of sugar. And I really didn't think much about my nutrition really at all until I got pregnant with my first pregnancy, and I miscarried pretty early on. And I just thought, you know what? I want to do the best I can for my next pregnancy. Not that I thought my eating affected it, but I just wanted to go into that differently. And so that's when I was like, okay, I can't just eat salads. I got to start spreading out into trying new veggies that I would have never eaten before. So during each pregnancy, I ate healthier, but after those pregnancies, I'd slid back into my bad habits again. And so, I had 4 kids. My husband was a firefighter, paramedic, works 24-hour shifts. And so for me, making a great meal for myself and kids that are going to be picky about it, I was like, I'll just make the easy, convenient, quick stuff. So I often ate whatever was easy and quick with them, sometimes going through drive-thrus at fast food restaurants. Or I'd forget to eat. And so that just really got to a point where I was like, okay, something's got to change. After my 4th child, and he was getting a little bit older, I was trying to work out, trying to out-exercise my bad eating habits, and I wasn't feeling any better. And I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted. And so I reached out to my sister and was asking her what she was doing, because I knew she was on a health plan and just trying to figure what that was. And so I thought, okay, I need to do that, because I was so tired of feeling exhausted. I had brain fog, inflammation, poor sleep, and just poor self-image. I just was not feeling my best. And Satan knows when we're struggling and what we struggle with. And so if we are not fueling our bodies well, that can carry over into so many areas. And so I just was barely surviving, I would say. So I knew that I needed to make changes.
When did that happen then? When, was this 10 years ago, 2 years ago?
So a little over 5 years ago, I decided, okay, I'm going to dial in on my nutrition.
Okay.
And I was shocked at how much better I felt in a short period of time. A matter of weeks, I was starting to feel better. And so I got my health in order, and it was just in the right timing. God always knows the perfect timing, because it was a matter of a couple of months after I started my health journey that my 13-year-old son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And that really rocked my world, because I thought, oh my goodness, he can hardly eat anything without me having to give him a shot. And he was a very picky eater. And I'd say he's a sugaraholic like I am. Unfortunately, I passed that on to him. And so that was a really, really tough journey of just that. But all that to say, though, is that God helped me with my journey. And so my family had already seen me start to make health changes. And so that was really key for that, because now they were not only doing it for me, but now they were like, okay, we're going to do it for Jet.
Oh, I love that.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
Praise God that like he prepped you even
Right.
for helping your son.
Yep.
So, okay, well, tell us a little bit more about like helping Jet change what he ate and like that's hard. How old was he?
13.
13. Okay. I have an almost 13-year-old. Like how do you help? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, we went to see a naturopath doctor, and
Okay.
he was really encouraging for Jet just to really change what that looked like for him. And so Jet was so, I was actually surprised at how well he was willing to change. And so we had made a lot of changes. I mean, I was making everything from scratch. I was researching everything and just trying to keep things lower carb for him, and then when he had his carbs, it was more fruits and those kind of things. So so he did really great. But the thing is that I went extreme.
Okay.
And that was what was tough on my family, is that I kind of went to the other side, which I knew that if I didn't start to make changes, that was going to carry over, and there was going to be a lot of resentment and frustration with me.
Yeah. I have to say that I'm totally resonating with this because just last week we had my daughter, we got her allergy testing back, and she has like 15 allergies.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh no. And so I resonate with this extreme thing, especially when it's about our kids. And it's like, we're willing to do anything that we can for our kids. So I'm like, all right, our lives, we're unearthing our lives. So like I've already thought, okay, we're changing this in our diet. And well, she's allergic to house dust mites. So we're tearing up all the carpet and we're getting a house cleaner and like we're doing all these things. And then I'm like, well, she's allergic to every season of different things outside. So we're moving to Alaska. That's it, where there's no, there's
Right.
nothing. But I mean, I say it kind of in jest and funny, but it is true. We can go to the extreme, right? Because we just want it to be okay for our kids. So how did that work for you?
Well, they were all kind of starting to be like, Mom, come on. And so I really had to lean into God and really ask God to really guide me in that, because I think initially I took that extreme guilt from Satan, like, you caused this with your son. Even though I know type 1 is not caused by poor eating, type 2 can be. But type 1, it's not caused by that. And so, but I took that on. I took that guilt on, and Satan knew that. And so I really had to wake up every day, ask God to really guide me, give us peace, and give me wisdom in how to do it in moderation, how to teach my kids healthy habits, but also to let them have things in moderation. Because I know if I didn't do that, when they get out of the house, then they could swing the other way and just go so extreme in the unhealthy eating.
I just think this is really important to talk about, like the in moderation part, because I don't know again where everybody's at in their health journey, but sometimes you want to control it so bad, and so I think it's so important to be like, okay, Lord, teach me, what do I need to do, have to do, and then where is the moderation piece where there can be flex and flow. So
Yeah.
So
sure.
You found out some other things about yourself too, didn't you?
Right.
In this
So
process?
it was a little bit after Jet was diagnosed, about a year and a half later. I went to see a new doctor because my doctor had moved, and I had that struggle going on, but I was doing so much better because I had gotten my nutrition under control. But she said, I really want to run a thyroid panel on you again. And so, because it had been a while. And so it came back that she knew I had a thyroid disease. She didn't know what it was, but she said, I'd love to have you try going gluten-free, which I had really limited my gluten, but I was having more than I probably was a couple months prior to that. And so she said, I'd like to have you go gluten-free and then try a supplement. And let's see what happens. So I checked back in with her in 3 months, and my numbers were already better. And so she said, let's just have you stay gluten-free and take this supplement. And so with my nutrition, fitness, and all of that stuff, I've managed to be able to stay off medication, which has been huge for me.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Not having to be on meds.
Right.
I mean, there are instances where we do have to.
Right,
for
for
sure.
sure. Yep.
But you were able to stay off.
But for now, that's my goal, is just to, if I can continue to do it with nutrition and health, that's what I'm going to plan to do.
Yeah, praise God.
Yeah.
So this has been a journey not only for you personally, also for your son, and it's affected your family. What are some things that you'd say you've learned through all of this?
The biggest thing I've learned is really just leaning into God. I mean, asking God to guide. I think early on in my journeys, I never really thought about my nutrition piece being a big thing I should pray to God about. But God cares about every little detail.
That's good.
And when we try to do it on our own, it's hard. It's so easy to get derailed because, like I said, Satan knows each of our weaknesses, and he can, he'll derail us in that. And so really leaning into God. I found some great books to read too. One book that I really liked was by Lisa Turquist of I'll Start Again Monday. And so that just had some really great input into it again about how, what we start our morning out with. If we start our morning out with something sweet, I like to start my morning first thing with a glass of water. If we start with water, we're going to crave water more often. If you start with coffee, not that coffee's bad for you, if you start first with coffee, you're going to crave coffee all day long. So starting with that glass of water first is going to be key. But just getting up, asking God to guide me on my journey, and really leaning in to Him in the fears and the struggles of parenting kids, helping them to manage their food addictions and food struggles and cravings and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just even the littlest things can make such a difference.
Right.
And I appreciate the going to God piece and trusting the Lord and like letting go of some of that. Like I was talking about earlier about how we just want to control it so much, and just being able to say, okay, God, this is reality. This is my hope. We want to be healthy. We want to be a healthy family. We want to be good stewards of what you've given us. What does that look like? I think we're so quick to go to someone else, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a natural path, or whether it's a friend who's even a health coach like you are. And all have incredible resources for us, but I think it's so important to go to God first,
right,
and say, what do you have for our family?
Yep.
What does nutrition look like in this season too? Because it changes seasonally.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think too, I think of that scripture, 1 Corinthians 10:23. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. And so I look at that with food as sure, I could have that. It's not going to kill me. But is it going to benefit me? Is it going to help me on my goals? Is it going to help me stay focused? And so really thinking about those things when it comes to it is that God's asked us to be a good steward of our bodies. We get one life on this earth, and how we take care of ourselves and our nutrition will determine the quality of life we have.
Yeah, I agree. It is important. So in the time that we have left, let's just get practical for a minute. What would you say, with your experience and with your journey, what would you say are the few things that you would say, target these to avoid? Get rid of these if you can.
Yeah.
These are things you don't want.
Yeah. Well, a couple of them, there's many, but just a couple of them would be the high fructose corn syrup, monodiglycerides, food dyes. Food dyes are a big one for our family, and I have to say is that my son in second grade was really struggling with focusing, and some people said, oh, that's just typical boy. And I was like, no, this just seems extreme. Well, I realized it more and more when he was having some stuff with dye, so I pulled him off of dye, and within a matter of a short period of time, his reading level jumped 3 levels.
Oh, my
and his
word.
teacher was like, wow. She actually wanted to have him tested. And so, there's a couple things after that where every great once in a while he'd have it, and I was like, oh my word, what happened to you today? So for him, dyes can be a really big one that people don't even realize. It's in everything. And so keeping an eye on the dyes, as well as a lot of people can struggle with gluten, wheat. What they've done to our wheat industry has been really tough. And so I would say it can be an inflammatory for a lot of people. And so just keeping that in mind in how your body's feeling. If you're really struggling, that might be something you want to cut out for a bit and see how your body responds.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, I just want to say, if you're at the beginning or in the middle or in the peak of your health journey, I just want to encourage you that there's always a next step to take. And like I said before, I really believe that God has great things in store for our family, and that does involve us being as healthy as we possibly can. And so I want to thank you for being here and sharing your own personal story, your journey. your expertise. I appreciate that you are a health coach and you've helped a lot of people throughout this journey. And I think one of the things I love most about you, Candace, is you're just so real. Like, you're just so easy to talk about real things with. And so thank you for, I never feel judged around you. Like, I feel like I can eat a piece of cake around you and then talk about how, like, we shouldn't be eating sugar, right? Like, there's
Right.
no judgment, and I just appreciate that. And I think that's how our community should be. We can talk authentically with each other about what our concerns are, what we're going through, what our goals are. But then at the end of the day, like, moderation.
Right.
Like, it's okay. There's grace, you know? And I think that's important that we live in community that way too.
Yeah. And that's what I would say is the biggest thing is, even though I'm a health coach and I'm passionate about healthy eating, I still have my sugar every now and then. But I have to really limit it because it's such a slippery slope for me. So we just want you to know that you're not alone, and finding community to cheer you on is going to be key for setting you up in whatever success you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, just to reach those goals,
Yeah.
change your family's health.
It's important. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. Have some great discussion today.